Forgotten Photography LLC asks, what is your favorite prop you made during your theater days? I have two. I worked in theater here in San Francisco in the early 90s. It was a phenomenal theater town in the early 90s. Angels in America had its first run in 1991 here around the corner down on 16th Street at what used to be the Eureka Theater. I worked for Project Artaud. I worked for the Eureka Theater, George Coates Performance Works, Berkeley Repertory Theater, Beach Blanket Babylon. I worked for I did some freelance pickup work for some of the Broadway stages. It was great work, and it was really, really fun. And I was working at Berkeley Repertory Theater on two different shows during which I made the two props I'm going to talk about. The first one is Woman Warrior. Maxine Hong Kingston's book was turned into a stage show by Berkeley Rep in the early 90s. And then it ended up touring around the world. And as part of Woman Warrior, there are ghosts in the play. And the ghosts are manifested in furniture and pieces of furniture that move themselves around, steamers that are self-propelled, and chairs that drive themselves around the stage. And so I was hired by Berkeley Rep to make a robotic chair and a robotic coat hanger. And I did. I succeeded in making a tourable robotic chair platform. This is again like 93. 93, early 94. Those were super fun. That was like the pinnacle of my theater work. That was me getting that work because I had the mechanical aptitude that I didn't realize at first to execute something like that, and then getting a month to just being ordering parts and finding the places. And this is 1994. There's no internet for searching. I'm calling companies, California Caster Company, finding the right kind of non-marking donut wheels for my drive wheels, figuring out how to lock stuff together. So that was a favorite prop because it was like a level up. That was like me beating the final boss of theater. The other one was we worked on a Noel Coward play called Private Lives. And in Private Lives, there's a scene in which a couple have a fight and a large glass salad bowl breaks, and so does a figurine. And so my job for that show was making a breakable salad bowl and a breakable figurine in numbers so that they could break them every single night. And that meant tons and tons and tons of casting experience. I didn't know how to make molds and how to do casting. At that point in San Francisco, we had and still have one of the country's great molding and casting companies. Oh my God, my old brain is literally forgetting the name.
Douglas Sturgis?
Douglas and Sturgis, thank you. Douglas and Sturgis. This thing. Anyway, Douglas and Sturgis. They are artstuff.com, ARTSTUF with one F. Douglas and Sturgis has been a brick and mortar store in San Francisco since I have been here for 32 years. They've been around longer. I have bought all of my casting materials from them. They're amazing. They're super knowledgeable. Some of their old employees have worked for me. And they sold and sell books on mold making and casting. And I bought books from them and I researched it, and we found these resins to use for the salad bowl. And I made these huge paint-in molds for the salad bowl. And we made dozens and dozens of salad bowls. They broke every night. The figurines were made out of plaster, slush cast and plaster. Yeah. So the execution of those two things, those two props weren't interesting in and of themselves, but the process by which the prop master at the time, Paul Feinberg, just let me have so much freedom to kind of figure this problem out and execute it, that it was one of my favorite bits of like, oh, okay, how do I do this? I have no idea. We start to read. Okay, now I have some idea. Read some more. Try some tests. Now I have a little bit more of an idea. And eventually there ended up being this, the actress that threw the figurine noticed that as I was slush casting the figurines, the heads would often end up being solid plaster. And so they would kind of boom and tumble on the stage, which wasn't a problem narratively, but she collected all the heads. The actress that played the lead in this play collected all the heads and made this wooden frame with a spider web of string and embedded all the heads in it. And we hung it in the model shop. That is awesome. I will tell you, one of my favorite things when I meet other theater prop masters is commiserating over how much damage actors can do to props. Seriously. I was just hanging out with our old Mythbusters builder, Tori Fink, in Denver. And Tori's been doing a lot of theater work in Denver. And I was like, dude, can you believe how much damage like a small actress can do to a welded steel prop? And he's like, I know! It is so hilarious. I have had diminutive 100-pound actresses hand me a thing that I welded out of steel, broken in half, and I would gaze at this thing, gobsmacked. How is it possible that this was cracked in half? And they're like, I don't know. There's something that happens with actors on stage where they gain some kind of extra strength superpowers that are specifically for destroying props. I'm sure of it. It's like bistro-mathics, right? That all laws of physics are bent on a restaurant check when people are trying to figure out what everyone owes, and that's how you build the improbability drive from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh, there's a lovely question. Christopher Collins asks, have you had a favorite Star Trek memory, meeting actors, working on a prop, or meeting behind-the-scenes builders? I have to say, I have met many of the actors from Star Trek. A lot of the actors from Next Generation have become friend acquaintances over the years. There's definitely a mutual admiration society. I had one epic night with almost the whole First Generation cast in Dragon Con back in like '09. Oh my God, what an epic night that was. So much fun. And if there's one thing that really typifies Star Trek, every Star Trek show I have ever intersected with is that is a family. It is a set of families, that the family ethic really was generated by Gene Roddenberry and still carries to this day through the franchise. That is really lovely. And all that being said, the best Star Trek interface I have ever had is with the Enterprise over there at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. That original series Enterprise, built out of wood and plaster and acrylic. The idea that those cantilevered long throw nacelles and that big dish, that nothing is drooping 70 years later, 65 years later, 65 years? Yeah, 65 to, yeah, 60, yeah. 50 to 60 years later, that all those pieces are still straight and not drooping. The craftsmanship in there is really gobsmacking and delightful to see. And I'm so glad that the Smithsonian is taking the time to carefully collect and disseminate those stories just as much as the stories of genuine space travel, because they both belong in that museum. There are so many astronauts today that are astronauts because of Star Trek, because of Star Wars, because of The Martian, because of this virtuous cycle that exists between culture and what we decide to do with our resources. And so that Enterprise holds a really, really special place in my heart. It's amazing, an amazing model. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.